This podcast is brought to you from our friends at TenCate Protective Fabrics, Emergency Networking, MagneGrip, and IFSTA.
Hey, good evening. Welcome to the October edition of Fireground Strategies and Other Stuff from the Street, hosted by Anthony Villo and myself, Jim Duffy. I have nothing bad to tell us this month. We've done pretty good. A few accidents with vehicles. So all I'm going to ask you guys to do is please drive safely. I know Chief Avillo just got back from the West, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The only exciting things I have to add, and it's the reason we have Cynthia, our guest this evening. I went to a retirement dinner for a guy I worked with for a long, long time. He just retired after 32 years, firefighter Sandy Everson. Great guy, great pump operator, great firefighter. But he knew it was time. It was time to go. 32 years is a good long run. I retired after 28, plus 15 as a volunteer before that. So, which leads us to how we got to this show. But the other thing I did this week was I went to the Mineola Fire Department, their 135th anniversary barbecue at their firehouse. And it was actually a wonderful time. They made me feel like I never left. I was welcomed. It was wonderful. I was actually captain of that fire company for their 100th anniversary. So that was 35 years ago that I was captain there. So pretty crazy stuff. In the volunteer service, you end up with a lot of younger officers than you would find in a career side. Chief Villo, anything interesting for us on your recent trip? You just got back yesterday, right?
As you said, I just spoke at the New Mexico Fire Chiefs Conference out in Roswell. Well, it's not Roswell. It was in Rio Doso, which is a beautiful, beautiful area. I flew into Roswell, which was like all desert, remind me of like Wile E. Coyote. And as I was driving, it was about 75 miles to the conference. It just started to become like, more, it looked like Wyoming. It was absolutely gorgeous. And a little bit of altitude sickness at the beginning, which I never had before, but I think it's because of some medications I'm on that kind of brought it on. But it was a really great show. Seth Barker was speaking, and Nick Papard spoke, and it was nice. I just got back yesterday. Great time, great people out there, and just like everybody here, thirsting for fire service knowledge. On my personal side, we've had, I think, about today it's beautiful, but we've had about 10 days of rain and, record rainfalls and flooding all over the place here, and haven't been able to get out on a boat, which, kind of sucks. But I did get to see the Eagles. I got to see Springsteen. I got to see Brian Setzer, and it's, moving forward, it's all good.
There you go. Well, this leads us to our guest, Cynthia Ross Tustin. She retired as a fire chief in what year, Cynthia?
2021.
And that's the Essa Fire Department in Ontario, Canada, correct?
That's right.
Yeah, good. I am not going to try to tell everybody what you've done, but I will say that I did first meet you at FDIC many, many years ago, which is always a wonderful and exciting thing. As we were talking about earlier this morning, it can be exhausting, though, spending a week out there. As much as you need it to recharge your batteries, it is exhausting. But anyway, give me a brief history, years in the fire service, where you worked, where you volunteered. Very brief, because we want to get to the point of us inviting you. You're doing a great thing in your retirement, helping other folks live their best retirement possible, and lead us from your beginning to how you got to where you are today.
Oh, well, it's probably no different than you guys, right? I was an ICU trauma unit nurse by trade, and our local volunteer fire department had a pretty severe need for volunteers, and 75% of our calls were medical. So I got on. Some people didn't like it, but I got on. And
were you the first female there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. But, I grew up in the boonies on the farm, so I knew a lot of these guys anyways, right? It's a small town. And from there, I joined the fire marshal's office and worked all over the province of Ontario. We did everything from training fire departments how to do auto extrication to plug derailed leaky tank cars. Lots of stuff. And a lot of what we did subsequent to that was all about the law and all about fire safety and all about code and all about the rules. And from there, I became the deputy fire chief for the city of Barrie. Tragically, there we had a line of duty death in early 2000. Lost a wonderful young firefighter named Bill Wilkins. And so, you have a hard lesson like that, and you carry it with you for life, and you try and share certain messages. And I went on to become the deputy in Bradford, and then finally the full-time fire chief in the township of Essa, volunteer fire department there. And busy, great guys, but super, super busy volunteer fire department. 2 stations, 1,000 calls, 14 pieces of apparatus, lots of variety in the calls that we go to.
How big was the district?
It was the entire township, so something hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of square kilometers, right? Like it was massive. It's nothing for somebody to have a 500-acre farm, and it's huge. I mean, of course, it's kilometers, so I can't even tell you the 200 and something, 300 for round numbers. Let's do 300 square kilometers. I'm too old. I still do imperial, not always metric.
Yeah, that's okay. I kind of understand both. I just have to do a quick conversion.
Yeah, you have to really think first. Yeah.
Yep. So now that you've retired, and how many years did you speak at FDIC? Probably 16 or more, or close to
17, 18. Yeah, FDIC. I gotta say, FDIC. It's great to go and learn. It's great. It's probably, unless things have changed, it is the premier place for the fire service to go and learn. Like, there's no place better. But as a guest speaker, it's an absolutely invaluable privilege to be able to come and speak there, right? You learn things, you meet people, you make connections. You get to sit and talk to people that you'd never get to talk to, like you do sitting around the coffee table at the fire hall. Like for years, I'd sit and talk to Bruno. I could never have a chance to sit around the coffee table with Bruno any other way. But you get to talk to some pretty great minds, and it's a pretty big privilege.
Okay, now it leads us to why we asked you to be here today. The fire service, I think all jobs people miss not all jobs, but I'll say most jobs. But I think when people leave the fire service, especially the career side, it's one day you're a firefighter and then you're not. In the volunteer service, there are many, many things you can do after you're done being an active firefighter. They can help on apparatus committees. They can help in the business meetings. There's so many things they can do. But on the career side, it's like the switch was turned. When I retired, I knew it was time. But one of the saddest things I saw was the firehouse in my rearview mirror when I was going home at the end of my last shift. It was time. I'm loving my retirement and enjoying it. But for a lot of fires, they're not ready for it. It becomes your life. But if you're smart about it, you have other interests. And we're going to get to you and speak to that in a little bit. But many people don't. They're done and they're kind of lost. They're bored. They don't know what to do with themselves. The hours go on and on and on.
IFSTA is dedicated to updating firefighting techniques and safety through the creation of our manuals, apps, curriculum, Resource One, and more. Our high-quality, technically accurate, and affordable training and education materials have made us a worldwide leader of the fire service. Visit us at ifsta.org for more information.
And it leads to some mental health issues, and sometimes substance abuse. But you have started a blog. It's called, Are You Ready for Retirement?
I'm thinking of retiring.
Yeah, I'm thinking of retirement.
Literally.
So what led you to that? Was it your own journey to discover what you wanted to do when you were finished, or you had it in your head already?
I think it's a combination of those things, because in the fire service, and I don't know if it's this way for accountants or engineers, but when you're in the fire service, it's all consuming. And it's not just your job, it's your social network, it's your family support system. Like, you eat, sleep, and breathe with these people every day. It's not like making a widget at a factory. It's a completely and when that's gone, it's difficult. It's like a death. You almost have to treat it like a grief process. And the other part of it is, especially in the fire service, if you're a firefighter, for a lot of people, your entire sense of self-worth is connected to being a firefighter. Because, I mean, you have days where you're downright heroic. And so your sense of self-worth is really tied to what we do. And so I knew that if I didn't start in advance, I didn't know what I was going to do to fill my time, right? Because, you're used to working at a certain operational tempo all the time. You're on call 24/7. And then not only does the pager not go off, but the phone doesn't ring anymore. And there's any of the things you counted on are gone. So you have to start early, building and cultivating things you want to do. So that's how I started. I like to write. I always have. And I paint. So I thought I could bring those two things together. And I actually don't think of myself as retired. So that can help people too. I like to think of myself as self-tenured. I wanted to create my own business. I achieved the goals I set for myself in the fire service. I reached them, and it was time for new goals. And so that's what led me to the blog. And that's what it's not about how to cope with the 5 stages of grief. I write about where you can go and what you can do. And whether it's, 40 unusual hobbies. I just posted a thing this morning. Anybody interested in learning how to use a bow, send me a DM and I'll set something up and we'll go take some lessons and you can learn how to bow hunt. And I do the same thing for ice fishing or encaustic painting. Introduce people to some hobbies they might not have thought of. You can only play so much golf. And, or, how much time are you going to spend on your phone playing Sudoku, right? So you have to cultivate other interests. And I preface that with also saying, if you've been working like we all work and left your spouse at home to hold down the fort so you could run out the door and hope you don't trip over your own cape because you're off to be a superhero, you've left your spouse at home holding down the fort, making all the big decisions. And now all of a sudden, you're home. So don't think you're the new commander-in-chief of this station just because you're retired. They've had to carry on without you. Decisions that you just let go for years, you suddenly don't get to take back or even have a say in. So you need to, build yourself back up. You might not only need some new hobbies, you might need to find something that you and your spouse can do together that's fun to, build that relationship back together of being 24/7 in the same house.
Interesting.
So I do, yeah. Some things just don't think about. But I'm like you. I knew it was time to go. I was done.
Yeah.
There comes a time when I don't know about you, but I got tired of working for people I wouldn't hire in a million years and solving everybody else's problems, right?
Like a trusted turnout jacket you've had for years, Flex 7 outer shell fabric delivers a perfectly broken-in feel on the very first wear. Flexible, comfortable, and powered with the strength of enforced technology, Flex 7 outer shell fabric is made to move. To learn more, visit tencatafabrics.com/flex7. Flex 7, powered by enforced technology. Only from TenCate Protective Fabrics.
You can only solve the community's problems on a daily, hourly basis for so long.
Yeah, it does take its toll. I know Chief Villo absolutely loved his job. I actually went down to his firehouse on a very snowy morning after his last shift. And, and he's in a very, very busy fire department with limited manpower for the size of the cities they cover. Where he worked, there were 5 cities involved in a regional fire department. And, the stresses of that is, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I imagine it took its toll. I don't know about you guys, but I eat my feelings. So, the chocolate's popular in our house.
Yeah, it's funny because, as you said, everybody tells you you'll know when it's time. And for about 29 years, I was like, or 28 years, because I retired after 30 and a half. I was like, how are you going to know? How is that possible? They're like, trust me, you'll know. And I knew, it just sort of kind of creeped in, I guess, if that's a right term. But I kind of knew, I did my 30 and a half, and, but you're right. It's, I've only been back there a few times, and people you don't even know that, big turnover there, and you don't even know anybody, some people, but you don't know that many people. And I always say that, the people that I hung with there, I kind of still see and hang with now, and we go golfing, sometimes, or whatever it is. They just had a big gathering at this guy Danny Viscardo's house yesterday. It was about 70 guys, and I couldn't make it because I was coming in from New Mexico. But I saw some pictures, and it was pretty cool, And but and I spoke about this with Duffy. One of the things that I miss the most is going to the fires. There is nothing in the human experience that compares with, or can be even measured against, pulling up on a working fire, being in a command of a working fire. Listen, I was never in the military, and I'm sure that sort of probably even eclipses that. But we're also, I guess, adrenaline junkies too, in a lot of ways. So some of those things, all of a sudden that's turned off. It's like somebody pulls the plug on that, and it's kind of interesting. But I kind of never took a breath. I went right into being the chair of fire science at New Jersey City University, and I was still out speaking on the circuit. And I worked at the Monmouth County Fire Academy, and it took me about 3 weeks to kind of figure out that I hated the university environment. It was just too bureaucratic and too much nonsense I didn't want to deal with, So the job for the Monmouth County Fire Academy, being the director, came up, and I was already an instructor there. So I jumped at that. And that was really good. But again, you're still sort of a step away from the big picture.
You're fire adjacent.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I remember reading Dennis Smith's book, Report from Engine Company 82, and he said it was similar to being a jockey who no longer rides the horses, but he, helps bridle the horses up and those kind of things. But he, the experience, but you don't do it anymore,
Yes.
And interestingly enough, I was the director for about 7 years, and I started to get that feeling again of, it's maybe kind of time. And they did me a favor by cutting me off about 2 years earlier than I would have done it. But then I wound up in a position where all the guys that I really loved working with, I don't see anymore, and I went from being employed to, just going, when they told me, and they did it in a very unprofessional and almost a dirty way. And I felt like I went to see one of the big bosses thinking we were just having a meeting, and they told me my services were no longer required. I felt like Joe Pesci in Goodfellas when he thinks he's getting made and he walks on the plastic, So
Yes.
While,
Breathing in diesel exhaust fumes is like walking into a fire without a mask. Over time, those toxins lead to cancer. Protect yourself with MagneGrip, the easiest, most reliable exhaust removal system that features a true 100% seal to eliminate diesel exhaust fumes. To get free grant assistance, visit magnegrip.com.
I don't sweat it, and because these people couldn't carry my bootstrings that terminated me. But you still I felt sort of absolutely, they absolutely treated like garbage, and but I wound up nothing to do, so I'm now working. I teach for New Jersey City University as an adjunct. I teach for the Division of Fire Safety in New Jersey. I speak out on the circuit, and I got a job as a security at the Count Basie Theater, which has really great rock shows. So, but I still,
You
I don't
miss
want
it.
to say I'm not fulfilled. There's still something a little bit missing, that I got to kind of figure out. So, and I forgot about your page, so I am going to go on your page and I'm going to take a look and because I feel some of that. It's almost like post-incident traumatic stress in a way. You feel like
Yeah.
So I'm glad you're
There's
here.
There's a reason they say that leaving a job you love is like a death, right? You really do have to go through the steps of grieving. And God help anybody who gets, retired early,
Yeah.
from the job that they love. Like it's devastating to people. So, but there's a reason we need to have systems in place to keep ourselves up. And that's nobody retires like they used to whittle on the front porch. Like people don't do that. You two are as self-tenured as I am. We find things to do to keep our toe in. So sure, I write a blog and I help people with web stuff, but I will help my colleagues on the side and review all their OGs and rewrite them. Or I just quietly helped a full-time chief, but everybody else is volunteer, very small. I was telling Jim, I prepared 12 months worth of fire safety social media for them. So I'm doing something fire adjacent, right? I'm keeping my toe in, but I'm using the skills that my administrivia skills that I had when I was there. And I get to use creative things. Sometimes I'll ghostwrite a council report for a fellow fire chief to help them get, say, a new fire hall or those kind of things. So
Right.
I don't know if you're ever really out. And in this day and age, we live so much longer. So if you don't start early, having stuff to do that fills up some of those voids, it's going to be a long time, and you're going to end up, dying of self-neglect early because you drink too much and eat too much chocolate, right? Like it's self-preservation.
Wow.
It's good exercise.
Go ahead.
I have a question for you, Cynthia. Or should I call you Chief? What should I call you?
You know what? You call me if there's three of us on here. Is one chief a chief, and are we chiefs? Like what is? I don't know how it works. Leaf and leaves. I don't know.
But now, not everybody is like us. The three of us want to be somewhat involved in the fire service still. Yeah. 1974 was when I joined the volunteers. So it's been 3/4 of my life I've been involved in it. Well, not 3/4, 2/3. But I love it. I want to be part of it. But I am thinking about slowing down in some of my doing classes. But what about the people who they were done with it and they're okay with it, or it was just a job with them.
Yep.
They may not have those same emotional issues other than the camaraderie.
Yes.
Your blog talks about things you can fill that time with that you never even thought of. Like you said, painting. You're talking about archery earlier. You're talking about that you had Kevin Shay as a guest. You know,
Great
who
guy.
doesn't love Kevin Shay, right? Like, is there a human? Yeah.
Seconds count when responding to an emergency. Minutes save count when documenting your day. Emergency networking makes records management easier and faster with its fire and EMS solution. User-friendly, complete online and offline functionality, highly customizable, all at an affordable price. For more information, please visit emergencynetworking.com.
My question is, go towards where your website goes and things you write about that people can try that they've never tried before. You said painting, writing. Villo writes all the time, so he doesn't need that advice.
He's well published.
But so suggestions, hiking, kayaking, whatever, and where do you find places to do these things? Now, my question was long-winded, but I'd love you to fill that in.
Okay, so I get the gist of what you want to know. So, like I said earlier, you can only play so much golf. So sometimes I would suggest to people, because people call me and ask this question all the time, what am I going to do? Where can I go? One of the first things I say to them is, what is it you miss most about the fire hall? And almost down to a person, it's the camaraderie. The other thing they miss, like Anthony was talking about, that operational tempo, that adrenaline junkie kind of thing. So you can't totally replace those, but you could find a few things to do that look like those. They can give you some of the same chemical highs. So, you can look at things like the bow hunting. So I interviewed Kevin Shay. You just brought him up. Wonderful man. And Kevin went from Manhattan to Montana. I mean, talk about a switch. And Kevin loves to hunt and fish, but Kevin decided to raise goats to train them as pack animals. So to pack out the meat and stuff when they've been on a hunting or fishing trip in the Kalispell Mountains. If people take a look at what you miss, that might be a first thing. Or the other thing I suggest to people is, what were you doing before that you had to give up to join? Because if you're on call and you, especially volunteer, or if you have a job where that's in demand and you got a young friend, we often give up a lot of our interests that we had when we were younger so that we can pay the bills and do the job. And the number of people that I talk to that have gone back to, well, I used to run marathons, I don't want to do that. Okay, well then let's try hiking. And there's Trails America, there's all trails, there's all kinds of web apps that can talk you through some great trails and different things in your location. Maybe you want to travel. Maybe you were at home for all these years, you couldn't go anywhere, you saved your money. So I talk about going to places like Sedona or the Galapagos Island, right? Sedona is breathtaking.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. And interesting, breathtaking. The train, taking that vintage train through the Verde Valley is spectacular. So you have to kind of think about what you want. So you can read me. I'll give you all kinds of suggestions, but those are some of the things you can do. So I wanted to travel, and one of the first places I wanted to go was Costa Rica. And I went to Costa Rica because a fellow fire chief that I worked with on the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs Board of Directors, he retired early so that he could go into business and open a bed and breakfast. So I thought, well, keep the money in the fire family, and I loved it. So sometimes it's not a hobby. Sometimes it's a job that people gravitate to. If you were the best cook in the fire hall, maybe it's time for you to maybe not cook at home. Maybe you need to open a barbecue business. Maybe that's your new passion. Or maybe you like bird watching. So where can you take bird watching to the max besides Costa Rica? Your backyard, yes. Yes, your backyard. The Galapagos Islands has some of the rarest birds in the world, some of the ugliest, but the blue-footed booby seems to be the favorite. My 3-year-old grandson loves the word booby. He thinks blue-footed boobies are hilarious. So
What
you
about the
have to look at.
yellow-footed sapsucker?
Yep, there's all kinds, but you could take. Sometimes you need to think, if you like birds, you need to think, well, do I want to just sit on my porch and watch the birds? Well, if I had Jim's view, maybe. But maybe you need to get yourself on a bird watching tour. Or maybe you need to go to the University of Cornell, because you now have the time. You can take an online course and do bird stuff. Or there's way to do citizen science, for example, with bird watching. The annual Bird Christmas Count is sponsored by the Audubon Society, and it's all over the world. So I have searched and searched, and when I write about things, the research for me is half the fun, but it's also about sharing that information and pointing people into directions. I had one guy call me the other day, and he said, it's kind of embarrassing. He said, but I've always sewn my own clothes. I mend it. I'm cheap, he says. I don't like to, do. He said, you did that article on Japanese sewing. And I said, Shinshuko? And he said, yes. So I put him in touch with a place where he can learn the special art of Japanese mending, where you make patterns and stuff. You just never know what people are going to be interested in. So I just keep researching and putting ideas out there so people can try new things.
I'm going to ask you some other questions. It's not, I don't think, your forte. Financial planning and the like that, to be ready. You talked about traveling, and traveling's wonderful. If you didn't prepare for it, and you're not from the East Coast of the United States, where you get significant pensions, actually the Northeast of the United States, because down south they don't do as well. You need to be prepared for that. And the medical end of it. Everybody doesn't get any until they reach Medicare. They don't get anything. They walk out the door, and now they have, a $1,500 a month, premium for their insurance. So we have to look for that too. Chief of Villo, did you get anything from North Hudson for medical?
Our medical is taken care of. I don't pay anything for it, but because of our lovely governor, Chris Christie, there was a line drawn. Everybody on the other side of the line now does have to pay. And I think it's up to 35% of their premium, depending on, how much money you actually make when you go into the system. The other beautiful gift he gave us is he eliminated our COLA, which is, as devastating. Not only to me. I mean, I'm retired 8 years, and because everything's going up, I'm starting to feel it a bit. But you talk about guys that retired with, a pension of, $30,000 because they retired a long time ago, and they depended on that COLA. That friggin' fat burger swilling bastard, he raped us, and it affected everybody in New Jersey. So I can see what you're saying about these things, but go ahead, Cynthia.
I'm just so glad to see you coming out of your shell.
And he never tells us how he really feels.
I know. It's good for you to get it out. Share, brother. That's good. See, it is a problem, right? If your pension isn't indexed, right? If you get no cost of living, if you're unindexed, it's tough. So to just retire isn't just a decision to feel I'm done. What if you're like some of our, what if our brother and sister firefighters who are on their third and fourth wife? You don't have a lot of pension left, right? I'm not talking about me. I'm good. 35 years. I'm good. Because I don't like to share. That's why. So, I mean, you've got that. You've got the health care. So sometimes I'll do articles on how to fly how to travel cheaply on a shoestring, or because I really do aim my audience at 55 plus. I like to think of 60 as the new 40, but I'm not really going to send somebody skydiving or marathoning, but I will send hiking. And you can go on my site and find a couple of links to travel insurance, because in some places, if you're over, like my mother-in-law is 80 and she's a going concern. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with her. She's healthy. She's great. She's just go, go, go. But to buy health medical insurance when you travel, it jumps like 5 times the price from 79 to 80. It's insane.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. So do it now. Or, move to Costa Rica, like, us.
An interesting thing. Go ahead, Chief.
Yeah, I hiked the Grand Canyon the year after I retired. It nearly killed me in 107-degree weather and 18 miles down to the river and back. And then the park rangers were like, "Are you guys insane doing this? Because people die that way. Don't you see the signs? Well, you think you got to put those signs." Yeah, it nearly killed me. Yeah. But you have to do those things. You have to, look forward and you got to plan stuff. I think that to me is always, I got to have something going on, a little further down. So one, I can prepare myself, get myself in a little better shape, make sure I have enough money, that sort of thing. We're going to Montreal at the end of October for 6 days, and we're actually planning a cruise to Alaska, I think, next year. So, I think, and the same with me, I always needed to have concert tickets. If I got concert tickets, I got something I got to stay alive for.
Something to do. A lot of people. Sorry, go ahead. A lot of people take a vacation to use their hobby, right? So I write about surfing in Costa Rica a lot. If you're from Iowa, you're not going surfing any other way than unless you travel, right? Some people have to travel to have the hobby, or say my husband races motorcycles, and you can only go around you can only race your own area for so long. And maybe it's the competition you like. You have to travel. So it's not just travel to see the sights or, oh, look, a bird. It's very much about being able to do your hobby somewhere else. And the planning is essential, whether it's the money or the health. The other thing we should mention is a lot of us, we do a job that has a high rate of cancer. And we have, in Ontario, we have if you have a cancer that's recognized as job related, you get paid, you're compensated, your medical bills are paid, you get a payout your family gets if you pass away. So, but often we don't know we have cancer until later. So you really, before you go, you not only need to think about your money and what you're going to do, but you should probably go get yourself safetied, a year before you're thinking of retiring, because there's no point in leaving benefits to the unused. You want to make sure you get all your new glasses. You want to make sure your dental's up to date. You want to make sure you have everything you need, and, take advantage of all that stuff. Literally go get yourself safetied and get ready to do that. And I don't know what it's like down there, but up here, you have to prove that you actually were exposed to the things that cause cancer to get, the job-related cancer stuff. And that takes a lot of paperwork. My advice to you is do that. Start gathering that up a year before you go, because cancers are always added. And sometimes you may have passed away and a new cancer gets added, and your family could be left without hundreds of thousands of dollars because they're entitled to a compensable payout because you died of a line of duty cancer. So you need all your paperwork. Put it with your will or in your safe deposit box, not your underwear drawer. Put it someplace important and make sure your family has that, because it'll be hard as heck to get that when you need it down the road. Because like you guys just said, the turnover, the people you knew that you could rely on to say, you make a quick call, can you get me this? They're gone. They've retired too. All your network connections, right? They'll be gone. So, there's a lot to think about. Plan it like a project.
A project. Did you hear that, Avillo? That's not a New Jersey accent, that's for sure.
Oh, it's
Cynthia,
project.
do you have like any kind of checklist in regard to that information? You say,
No,
plan
but
it like a project. Is there a checklist or something?
I think I'm going to make one. I'll make you
Good
guys
idea.
a checklist. I'll make you a checklist.
Thank you.
I love checklists.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah, me too. I'm
Any
a list
lost
guy.
to clean out your underwear drawer. Yeah.
Anthony doesn't
That's it.
wear
I'm a list
underwear.
guy.
Oh, Anthony, commando. Good for you.
I'm commando? Nah, I used to be commando a real long time. Nah, not anymore. My boys need support.
You were talking about finding something for your hobbies. My wife is retired as well. Never athletic in any. She went hiking. She did stuff like that. In Connecticut, there's a group called Run 169. There are 169 cities and towns in the state of Connecticut. So she's been trying to run a 5K or a 5 mile in every one of those towns. And it's like a big organization. She's up to, she needs 3 more. She's up to 166. She'll be running next Sunday. So she needs 3 more to run. It's taken her years, but she was never a runner. But now she has to plan where to get these races, because some towns only have races every 5 years or so. So, and there's thousands of people who are in the group now, and they actually, when you get to your 169th, they actually give you a crown, and everybody wears a tutu when someone's getting their final one when they run a race. And she walks. She's 65 years old, so she doesn't, she's not a marathon runner or a real racer, but she's gone to every town in the state, corners where you'd never dream of going to, cities like Bridgeport, and then towns for Norfolk that has, 1,000 people live in it or less, so it makes you travel around. Hiking, the Adirondacks, and I know you have your own mountains up there, but in the Adirondacks, it's a 6 million acre public-private entity, and there are 46 peaks over 4,000 feet. So people become a member of the 46ers, so they have to work years to hike all the mountains.
Yes.
There are 25 fire towers that are still up. So you can climb every mountain that has a fire tower. But again, it brings you all over the state to do this. So places you would never go, it will get you there. You have to go either to a bed and B or a cottage or a hotel to spend time up there, because it's 5 hours to get to the area from where I live. So there are lots of things, and I don't mean to jump on your parade here, but these are things that we've done that we find exciting and we enjoy doing. I'm actually going to Jersey on Friday. I'm going to Long Beach Island.
On purpose? You're going to Jersey on purpose?
On purpose, but Long Beach Island. It's it's the shore. There's a big kite festival down there, and Maureen's running in a 5K while she's there. I'll bring my bicycle. I ain't running anywhere. Wherever
you're going, maybe you ought to stop where there's been a diners, drive-ins, and dives filmed, right? Maybe cooking shows are your thing. So add a cooking show element to your vacation and make it a hobby. And then, maybe you want to post it on social media. So maybe you need to learn a few photography skills. And it doesn't take very long before you find something you like, and then you find something that's adjacent, and you can build on, like your wife with the running in all those places. Not only has she run, had some exercise, got some fitness, but she's built herself a community.
Absolutely. So while we're here, I wish I knew how to do a graphic. Mark will show me that. Why don't you tell people your website, where they can find you to look at your articles and your blogs that you've already done and in the future? So speak slowly because they're firefighters. You have to make sure they understand.
Is Mark going to put it on crayon on the screen?
I don't know. We'll ask him. Mark, are you there?
Put it in crayon. Put it in crayon. My website is literally called I'mThinkingOfRetiring.com. All one word, no grammar. I am thinking of retiring. And it's, or you can Google my name. It'll pop up. I have an Instagram feed under my name, Cynthia Ross Tustin, on Facebook. I do those. It's pretty easy to find me. The world is, unlike you, who doesn't like, tech, who likes Firefox, but they can't find you. I want to be found. I want people to search me out. I want people to say, hey, next time you go to Costa Rica, I want to go hiking with you and that girl from Bike Hike Botany over in Jaco, and let's go do a hike because I want to see all the amazing flowers and foliage in Costa Rica. Or, sometimes somebody will say to me, oh, I see you just posted that thing on bow hunting. I'd love to go Sunday afternoon, meet up and learn a hobby to see if I like it, right? I'll set stuff up like that so you can, it's like a trial run. You don't always want to go do it by yourself, right? So sometimes it's good to just find a group and,
Yep.
Get on the bus.
What do you think about dogs? Because I know Chief Avillo is a new dog parent, and it's not so new anymore, but dogs are great too. If you need a push to get out and walk or hike in the woods, having an active breed will help you do that. Yeah, I've had a dog my whole life. Recently lost one. But I used to walk 5 miles in the woods with her daily, like after a night shift. I couldn't just go home and sit on the couch, no matter how busy it was. She'd be in my face. So it forces me, as much as I love it. I don't really need to be forced, but I get into the woods. There's 80 acres right behind my house here. It's wonderful. It's not mine, but it's wonderful to walk back there. They are, especially there are a lot of people who are alone as well. When they retire, they could have lost a spouse, never had a spouse. Having a companion in the house help. I wouldn't say it fills the void of not having your comrades from work there. But they're beings. They're warm, loving beings. And I think someone who's having a struggle, it may not be a bad idea. Again, that's from my point of view, because I love animals.
It gives you, pets give you something else to think about besides yourself. Right? So you're right. There's not the same as your spouse or whatnot. Although maybe that's why some of our fellow comrades are on their third or fourth wife. But it's pets give you something to take care of, to get out of your own head and worry about them. Right? So instead of sitting there feeling sorry for yourself, there's nothing better than a walk. I think Anthony's calling over his cohort. There you go. Is that an Australian Shepherd?
He's Border Collie and Australian Shepherd.
Yeah, we had an Australian one of those too. Great dogs.
Oh my God,
great dogs.
Such a great dog. Yeah,
they're smart too.
Very smart. Loves the herd. Good boy.
Yes, the herding animal. Yeah.
And
people become their herd.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. But I was at the dog park today with him, and I keep muting my mic because like the helicopter's going by. There's a guy freaking trimming next door. So I know you guys are hearing that. There's traffic. So, he has helped me a lot. Like every morning I'll take him either to the dog park or we go down to the beach, and he loves going in the water and, but I have to, get him out hiking a little bit, but he's a COVID dog. So he's very, very super smart. He can close the door, he can do a lot of things, but he's very attached to us, and, so he's a good boy.
Yep. That could make travel hard unless you have all your shots. I mean, there are ways to take your pets with you, like not your goldfish, but there are ways to take your
Right.
dog traveling and whatnot.
But we travel with him all the time.
Yeah. On the plane or just in the car?
No, not on a plane. We wouldn't do that to him. But yeah, in the car, we'll take him in the car. We just went up to Lake Placid like 2 weeks ago. My girlfriend's son was in a hockey tournament, so we took him with us. And we'll be taking him to Montreal. We're gonna drive up with him. You got to go on bringfido.com, and it tells you where all the dog friendly places
Exactly.
are. And,
there's websites for a lot of places even cater to dogs, and just get them a nice big bowl of poutine.
Oh yes,
doggy health food, poutine.
Exactly.
I'm not a big fan.
You don't like the gravy, or you don't like the cheese curds? What do you not like?
You know what? I love gravy, and I love fries. I've only had cheese curds by themselves once, and I really like them too. I was in Wisconsin, and they're big cheese curd people. I just don't like gravy on. I like it on my mashed potatoes, but not on my French fries.
Yeah, it's an acquired taste.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I know it's hardening my arteries every time I eat it. So
yes,
I've only had it once or twice, but yeah, it's good.
It's very filling. So it's funny you should say Wisconsin and cheese, because actually one of the hobbies I was directing people to try was cheese making.
Oh, cool!
Wow.
Out and left. Make your own cheese. How to make your own cheese. So yeah,
we make our own wine.
Who doesn't want to do that?
Yeah. That's a lot of fun. We do winemaking, which is really fun. I gave you a bottle, right, Duff?
You did when we completed our video series. You actually brought it to East Haven, where we had that little, closing party. It was kind of like a Chianti, if I remember correctly. It wasn't a Chianti, but kind of leaned that way.
Do you drink wine, Cynthia?
I do. Am I going to be the recipient of a Villo bubble?
I will either get me your address, or I'll send you my address, and I'll ship you out a bottle. We made a great wine. Actually, we're sort of out of it, but we made it with my girlfriend's son, and he really didn't drink a lot, so we've been stealing cases from him. But it's a Cabernet Franc, and oh my god, oh my god! So yeah, if somehow I'm on Facebook. You can just message me if you want.
Okay. So you have a hobby, right? So people have more hobbies than they realize.
Yeah.
And they just need to do them more. They just need to give it a little bit of thought. And how can I make, short of drinking wine all day, how else can I make winemaking? And remember, some people turn their hobbies into jobs. That's what I did. Mm-hmm. Right. So
yeah, we're going to crush the grapes we're going to crush the grapes for next season this Thursday. So I'll bring my daughters with me. Funny quick story here. I went and taught in Alaska, and I taught in Valdez, Alaska, and I brought my daughters with me, and we were going into a pizza place, like a brick oven place. And as we're going in, these guys are coming out. So I'm holding the door as these guys come out. There's like 7 of them coming out. Last one coming out, Kevin Shay.
No.
Yeah, and I'm like, of all places, to meet some Kevin Shay in Alaska, and I was like, we're both at the same time, like, what are you doing here? It was like, it was funny you mentioned Kevin Shay, but it's
he had a bunch of buddies,
because
he was fishing, right?
He was fishing, he was salmon fishing with some of his buddies. But that's one thing that I've been doing too with my girlfriend, with my friends. We love going to concerts. So when a band is on a tour, instead of just seeing them in New Jersey, now we look and say, okay, where can we go catch them? So we caught the Stones in Chicago, and the next day we caught the Mets and the Cubs. I caught the Stones in Georgia. Next day we went to Georgia Tech, Boston College. So I have friends that a guy who just retired, he is trying to hit all the baseball stadiums. Those are like other things where we had tickets for Aerosmith in Las Vegas, but then COVID hit. So, again, if you have the wherewithal to do it, I always found that, to me, that's a passion that I have. It's just a lot of fun. And you're right, you got to find stuff you love, and and fill in the gaps and realize that you don't have to be busy 24/7 of the day.
Yes.
Because that is sort of where I get myself into like, I'm bored. What am I going to do now? And now I've sort of, I love to read, and I sort of like have sort of rekindled that a little bit. I'm starting to, read a lot again,
Yep.
which
Something you gave
which is
up.
nice. Yeah. I kind of gave it up a little bit. I was writing instead of reading.
Yeah. Yeah. No, now you can steal new ideas. So if you're going to Montreal,
I've stolen everything.
Right? What's that?
I've stolen everything.
Exactly.
I'm from New Jersey.
Plagiarism is the sincerest form of flattery. Isn't that what they say?
Exactly. I'm from New Jersey. My uncle owns an olive oil business.
Well, speaking of books, Chief Avillo, I finally found a use for your book, Full Contact Leadership. I have my computer raised it higher. No, it's actually raising my computer a little higher so it looks straight at me instead of me looking down at it. So it says full contact leadership. But it's actually a great book. I mean, I'm only kidding. Anytime a friend of mine gets promoted, it's one of the books that I give them. Although there's too many people getting promoted now because so many people are retiring. I can't afford it. I don't even know them anymore. And I've only been gone. Next month it'll be 5 years for me. So it's it hasn't been that long, but it's been a big turnover.
I just submitted the 4th edition of Fireground Strategies, so hopefully, I don't think it's going to be ready for FDIC, but hopefully it'll be out at some point. And it'll be the last edition. It's talking about Fireground Strategies last edition, and I only wrote it because Brunacini told me I should write it. So
yes.
that's why I wrote the 4th edition. But
I know I read it. I love that book. I thought it was excellent. And when I retired, because we will be eventually moving to Costa Rica, I took all the books that I bought at FDIC over the years, and there have been tons. Because I've got books that you've signed, that Bruno signed, that Lasky signed, that they're all signed books, and I donated them to the fire hall. And it's kind of a nice legacy to do, because the guys open the book and go, "Oh my God, what a nice message from Chief Brunacini. Oh my God, you really did know Chief Lasky." You know what I mean? So even though you're gone, that's why there'll be a little piece of you left.
I have a question for you. Do you find that the newer, and I'm going to say younger, I don't want to be an ageist, but do you find they're reading less? They're looking more for blogs and short things and forming their opinions in a very narrow area, because some angry firefighter from Idaho, and I'm only making that up, thinks that nozzles, whatever. Do you find that the younger people coming in are not reading deeply?
Yes. And it's not just younger people. We don't even have to call them young. Let's just call them fresher.
Newer.
They're fresher than we are. And like they don't even use textbooks in school anymore. Right? So everything is about the sound bite, and there's tons of information on the web about we are shrinking our attention span. People used to have a 4-minute attention span. Now people want their sound bites in 30 and 40. They think they can get enough information in 30 or 40 seconds. It's absolutely ludicrous. And, the fact that people don't read anymore, in my mind, is terrifying. They find a little niche that caters to what resonates with them, whether they're you're entitled to this, or whether they're angry, they should be doing this for you, or there's the social media and all of that was supposed to broaden our horizons and give us more information and access to it. But I find now it's so much more polarizing, right? It's so polarizing. All you have to do is look at politics in your country and mine to see how polarizing it is. It's brutal.
Right. Well, I find sometimes that it's not even so much in a way a shorter attention span. It's like a shorter attention tolerance.
Oh, that's
it's
very true too.
because these guys are blowing leaves next door. Because you even look at like a lot of the magazines and stuff where you used to have big articles. Now everything's small. It's all list. It's all, and then on the internet, you look at things where even, the pool is much wider than it is deep now, and there are people that are more full of themselves than full of information. And you have to be able to, sort of wade, navigate that, and sometimes that's difficult. And when you have younger guys or fresher people, they generally tend to look to people around their level, and not the people that have a lot more experience, I think. And I may be wrong on that, but it seems to me that there's a lot of people, a lot of false prophets out there, and social media has created that.
Well, they're looking for their own opinion to be echoed back at them. Yeah. Yes. They're not looking for big opinions. They're like, I want to find somebody who agrees with me, and that's who they listen to. Well, like Chief Villo said, you don't broaden your horizons one bit that way.
No.
Sometimes I'm uncomfortable with what I hear, but you know what? Okay, I'm not going to use that. That's okay. But I'm not going to say I'm just going to listen to people who believe in a private dwelling, you always stretch the hose line charged. I believe that, but there are departments that they've always stretched dry, and that's okay. I'll tell you why I like to do that, and I'll listen to why, but I've decided, again, I'm retired, I'm not stretching hose lines anymore, or in charge of stretching hose lines, but I believe in a private dwelling fire, you should always stretch with a charged hose line. And that's my opinion, but I hear people tell me why they don't, and they don't hold water with me, but I listened to them. I didn't just say, no, that's stupid. I listened, and okay, that works for you, good for you, just practice. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, civility is dying.
Oh my God, yes.
Civility is absolute. Civility is dying. It's a sad death. We'll have to be ringing the bell 3 times for civility very soon.
I hope not. I hope not. I know Chief Avillo is occasionally nice to me. Most of the time, he's mean.
He gave you wine.
That was shit. 12 years ago, I think. 2007.
Oh, okay.
I thought I had given you another bottle. Okay, I will mail you one. All right, so stop whining.
Hey, you can come down, visit us on Long Beach Island. We're only going to be there for 3 days.
Well, let me know what days. If I have nothing going on, maybe I'll come down. Is it on a weekend or a weekday?
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're coming back Monday. This week coming up. This week, Friday coming up. We're going to be in Beach Haven.
Okay, I know Beach Haven. Well, I'll talk to you. Let me figure it out.
You got it.
So, when you go to Montreal, are you going to go see Gord Routley? Get him to give you a tour of the Montreal fire stations, or what? He hasn't retired.
Oh, okay. Him, I don't know, but I'm going.
You don't know Gord Routley?
No, definitely. I plan on seeing that, but we are also going to a Canadiens game.
Oh, well, if you're coming to Toronto, let me know. I have season's Leafs tickets. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. How cool. How far is Toronto from Montreal?
That's about a 5-hour drive, 4.5, 5-hour drive.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get up that far, but I will keep that in mind.
It's quick on the street. If you're in and out of New Jersey, the best kept secret in the world is Porter Airlines, Toronto to Newark.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God, dirt cheap.
Yeah, I've heard of Porter Airlines.
Porter Airlines is absolutely amazing. You fly in and out of Billy Bishop Airport. The service is phenomenal. And, like if I go down, I used to pop down to see Diane Feldman, Rothschild. Now, right. I could be Porter to Newark in 40 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. It's and not expensive. It's great.
Yeah, they're in Fairlawn.
Yeah. Teaneck. Diane was in Teaneck, yeah.
Yeah, she lived in Teaneck, right. The offices were in Fairlawn, but they're very close to each other. Yeah. Yep. Oh, wow. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So that's the other thing I've been learning. Like there are things to do and places to go, like your wife, corners of your province or state that you never even knew about. I didn't know about some of these airlines and, some of the tricks to fly super cheap, or like, it's a learning process, right? There's a lot you can do.
Yep. There's actually a new one in Connecticut called the Villo Airlines. They just go to Tampa to Connecticut. A Villo Airlines. Say again?
I don't know it.
Yeah, well, you're not going to fly out of Connecticut, so it's of no use. They fly out of New Haven, actually, tiny little airport.
Oh,
they fly only 737s is all they fly. Interesting.
That would be that's a pretty big plane, 737.
Yep.
You can fly Bearskin Airline in Ontario to go way up north, and the pilot will come on with 12 Tim Hortons coffees, and if you want one, you just toss them a toonie and you got a coffee.
There you go. So
Churchill?
Say again?
Sorry, I didn't hear.
Have you been to Churchill, Cynthia?
Oh my God, no. That is so far north. My mom's American, or was, and half my cousins down there say, "Have you ever driven to Hudson's Bay?" And the maps are weird. You could drive from Toronto to the bottom of Florida in just over 24 hours. If you drove from Toronto to the top of Ontario, it would take you 4 days.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
And there are places you can't get to, you can only fly into, or you have to wait for winter because they'll put the ice roads in. Right. Like you can't get in and out of Moose Factory unless you can go, certain times of the year you can drive over. Otherwise, Moose Factory is pretty isolated. It's a massive country.
Oh my God,
you have to remember there's one province above the Great Lakes, but there's 7 states under the Great Lakes. Like, it's huge. It's an absolutely massive place.
And it's beautiful. I love Canada, man. Oh my God. It is beautiful.
Lots going on.
Yeah.
That's great. Cynthia, can you summarize what you think we need to be thinking about before we retire and what we should be thinking about afterwards? Just a short summary. Again, repeat your website. And, I think most of us put off planning our retirement. So what you kind of briefly went over, but just as a summary, things we should be thinking about and when should we be thinking about it?
Right. Well, some people are always thinking about their retirement, but because you pay into a pension or you put a little money aside, but it's always something that's really far off. So you're always thinking, oh, I can do this when I retire, but can you? So you need to think about things like your health. So like I said, get yourself safetied before you retire, especially if you've got paid benefits. Use them all. Never leave money on the table. Make sure all your paperwork for compensable cancers and health-related stuff is written down. Any of the data from fires or contacts, years of service, all the pieces you'll need if you have cancer, get it in place. I'm not talking about filing, but I'm talking about gathering the information, having it in a place in case you or your family need it 10 or 20 years after you retire. If you don't have a pension that's indexed, you really need a guy, right? You need a guy at the bank, or you need a guy somewhere, or girl, a really smart woman, to look at your finances, because you can't suddenly go, oh, damn, Skippy, I'm retiring next year and I might not have enough money. You need to think about the lifestyle that you want to lead, and will you have enough money? And that means you're either going to have to scale back what you want to do, or you're going to have to make more money somewhere. Like, it's a sliding scale. You either don't have enough money or you don't have enough hobby, right? So you have to think about that. What are you prepared to go without? Okay, we know Anthony's not prepared to go without the puppy and the winemaking. Okay, it's a given. It's done. You have to have the money for it. So you have to think about those things. Just because you want to travel to Europe once a year doesn't mean you're going to be able to afford it. So maybe you need to find ways to fund your hobbies and your retirement, right? So maybe you need, nobody, like I said, nobody retires anymore. Find yourself a side hustle, right? There's nothing wrong with a good, fun-paying side hustle. So to supplement what you want to do. If you love to play golf, maybe you can't afford the green fees where you want to play. So go get yourself a job as a greenskeeper and you get to play for free.
Right.
You have to be creative with what you want to do. So there's health, plan your finances. Remember, if you're married, you just can't come home and be the commander again. You are not you're two icy, buddy. You're not one icy. It's two. And if you've been leaving those decisions to the person who's held the house together, whoever, male or female, if you've left those decisions of keeping the house running and keeping the family together, you don't suddenly get to come in and have a strong opinion because you abdicated that 25 years ago when you took on the job. So you might have to get to know your spouse again. And the best way to do that is find a common hobby. So it might be walking the Jersey Shore, or it might be golf, or it might be cooking classes. But remember, you've got to build that relationship back. Not everybody, but it's spending that much time together again in the same house. Look how long it took you to get used to those guys down at Station 2, right?
I never
now
did.
You never did. Like some of them, like that, right? But sometimes you have to, it's a whole new game, like dating again. Who wants to do that?
Not me.
And you? Do you want to date again? I don't know. I have no idea what people are doing.
Wow. My God, Cynthia, such great information, man.
Oh, you're a sweetheart. Thank you.
Just, enlightening and just
thank you.
broadening, Thank you.
I look forward. We bought a place in Costa Rica. We're going to have a bed and breakfast. Nice. Although I hate people, I'm not making your breakfast, but you can, we'll give you a bed and you can have your own kitchen. But yeah, that's our plan. Retire to Costa Rica, and we're working on everything to make that happen.
There you go. Yeah, Villo's thinking of opening a bed and breakfast in Jersey City.
There you go. So
but anyway,
it's will make you a lot of money, but I don't. I'm out of Hudson County, man.
Yeah, really. I hear you there. Well, thank you so much, Cynthia. Much appreciated. I hope people are listening to this and writing this stuff down. And I really agree with Chief Avillo. A checklist, a downloadable checklist. And I think it would be very, very helpful. My wife and I are thinking about moving south, but not like Florida south, but someplace where the taxes aren't so high. It's pretty crazy, but my checklist is going to be where I'm not in need of it yet, but medical facilities. Is there a paramedic service? Are there, a hospital nearby? Where shopping? Those kind of things. Yeah, you might want to live in the middle of nowhere, but if it's 2 hours to get an ambulance ride, if you're having an MI,
That's right, it's real.
So I never would have dreamed that I'd be thinking about this stuff. But if I'm going to buy a house in South Carolina, and like I said, if the hospital's 4 hours away, like South Dakota or something, I'm getting older. Sometime in the next 10 years, I'm probably going to need some emergency medical care, maybe 20 years.
Yeah, shit's going to start falling off.
Yeah, well, I hope not. But
he's my grandbrother.
Yeah.
What's that?
He's my grandbrother.
Yeah, that's one of the things I asked about Costa Rica. Do they have 911?
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Like everything you just said, Jim, is, you don't think about when we're fresh.
No.
But,
Definitely not. There's a good hospital 4.5 miles from here, Yale New Haven, which is one of the best hospitals in the world, is 25 minutes away by ambulance. They have a cath lab, they have a stroke center, they have, the cancer center there. So it has everything. But if you move to the boondocks, and again, it's not like I'm looking forward to needing that, but odds are once you start getting to your 70s and 80s, these things are going to become real. So while we're looking, and we don't know where we're going to end up, but we're looking North Carolina, South Carolina, Delaware, maybe, who knows, Virginia Beach or something. But where can I go see my eye doctor or whatever it is? If I got to drive an hour, that's not where I want to be. So anyway, that's what I would add to the list we spoke about today. Your information is tremendous. I am definitely going to use your website more and read your blogs, because I know you have a library of blogs you can go back to. And I think that's a great start for the younger firefighters who maybe have 10 more years left, 15 more years left, maybe their entire career. And one thing I'm going to recommend to you newer folks, don't be so quick to give up your long-term benefits like your pension and, medical help when you're done for a 2% more raise. Money today, when you turn 65 years old, and there's no COLA, like Anthony said, you traded it so you could get another $20 this month.
Not worth it.
They're not thinking about that they'll ever get there, but they will. So you younger folks and middle time people, think about it when you negotiate your contract, especially, on the career side. Obviously the volunteer side is different. But you can, do you have low SAP programs in Canada? Length of service programs for volunteers, like.
No. And they really should start thinking of adding those, because it's getting harder and harder to get volunteers, especially when it takes 2 or 3 jobs to keep a family afloat. You just don't have time to be on the volunteers.
Well, I didn't join the volunteers for a low SAP program, but when I turned 60, I got a check for $11,000. What they did, for every year I served, they gave me X amount of dollars, as a volunteer. Smaller communities, like the one I live in is a really small community. They have a low SAP program. It's really a pension program, but it's like, so when you turn 60 or 65, they can either do a monthly, $100 a month. It's not like a job pension, but it's something.
Yes.
It's very valuable. I don't think it's good for getting people to join. I don't think it helps, but it does help retain people. So someone's already put in 10 years. Hey, you know what? If I stay 5 more years, I'm going to get X number of dollars. The volunteer service is failing throughout the country, our country. I don't know what it is in Canada, but it's awful. Connecticut, they're going to combination departments. They're getting daytime crews, like part-time firefighters, to work, like 8 to 5 or 8 to 6. Monday through Friday, because the volunteers, they're going to another city to work. So it's a bedroom community. So there's nobody there on a Tuesday afternoon at 10 o'clock when you dial 911. So right. It's happening all over Connecticut right now. I know it's happening in New York State, except on Long Island. It's not happening on Long Island. There's such a tradition there that's so strong. And there's a lot of off-duty New York City cops and firefighters that volunteer on their off time out there too. So that helps.
Yeah.
But anyway, those are some thoughts. Thank you so much for your information. Everybody, please check out her website. It's, I think it's
retiring.com.
I'm thinking of retiring.
Yes, I'm thinking of retiring.com. I'm just so grateful. Thank you so much for including me, lads.
Oh, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining us.
Leave your browser on for a little while. Mark will come on now, because Mark, until next time, you guys stay safe. Much appreciated joining us. Cynthia.
IFSTA is dedicated to updating firefighting techniques and safety through the creation of our manuals, apps, curriculum, Resource One, and more. Our high-quality, technically accurate, and affordable training and education materials have made us a worldwide leader of the fire service. Visit us at IFSTA.org for more information.
Like a trusted turnout jacket you've had for years, Flex 7 outer shell fabric delivers a perfectly broken-in feel on the very first wear. Flexible, comfortable, and powered with the strength of enforced technology, Flex 7 outer shell fabric is made to move. To learn more, visit tencatafabrics.com/flex7. Flex 7, powered by enforced technology, only from TenCate Protective Fabrics.
Breathing in diesel exhaust fumes is like walking into a fire without a mask. Over time, those toxins lead to cancer. Protect yourself with MagneGrip, the easiest, most reliable exhaust removal system that features a true 100% seal to eliminate diesel exhaust fumes. To get free grant assistance, visit MagneGrip.com. Seconds count when responding to an emergency. Minutes save count when documenting your day. Emergency Networking makes records management easier and faster with its Fire and EMS solution. User-friendly, complete online and offline functionality, highly customizable, all at an affordable price. For more information, please visit emergencynetworking.com.